Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tradition with a Catholic T. Today's episode, we will go over paragraphs 26 through 32 of Sacrosanctum Concilium. Paragraphs 26 and 27 state, liturgical events are celebrations of the Church and not private events. These are events that are supposed to draw people together under the bishop. And the paragraph mentions liturgy is supposed to be a sacrament of unity. Now, before Vatican II, and even today, priests can celebrate Mass privately by himself. This was more prevalent before the council, and I even remember seeing an old picture of a church where several priests were celebrating Mass on several altars. So churches used to also have side altars where this can happen. What these two paragraphs show that this is to be discouraged as much as possible. So as I said, even today, priests can celebrate a Mass privately by himself, but it's probably under extreme circumstances. I actually have, I'll bring in a link of an article which shows pictures of several priests celebrating Mass in the church. It's really interesting to see. However, the paragraph also mentions that the nature of the Mass itself is public and communal, no matter what, since we always offer the prayers and the sacrifice of the Mass for the whole church. The next paragraphs, 28 and 29, state that every participant in the liturgy, from the clergy, the altar servers, the choir, to the laity in the pews, should do their role and only their role in the liturgy. In terms of the non-clergy roles, like the servers, the readers, the commentators, the choir, should be trained to do their part properly. Paragraph 30 says that to encourage the laity in the congregation to participate, we should develop acclamations, responses, psalms, antiphons, and hymns, as well as actions and movements for self-expression. Silence should also be added when appropriate. And so from my experiences of the old traditional Latin Mass, and I've only been to low Masses, I've noticed that there's very little responses that are needed from the laity, responses out loud that are required. As well as the few times that you stand, and for the most part, you're either sitting or you're kneeling. So this paragraph 30, wants to encourage more responses, more engagement in a sense, in the liturgy, which moves directly to paragraph 31, where there is a need for the reform of the liturgical books to include instructions for the laity to participate. This paragraph hints the inspiration to create what we now know today as the general instruction for the Roman Missal, or also known as the Germ, which, if you read it, actually has particular instructions for not just the clergy, but for what the laity in the congregation should do as well. And as far as I know, nothing like that was created before Vatican II. And finally, paragraph 32 says that apart from people with distinct liturgical functions, or to honor civil authority, no special preference should be given to private individuals regardless of the social class. So it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor, we're all the same when we celebrate the liturgy. Now, there are some deference to be given to, let's say, civil authorities, like if the president attends the Mass, so more than likely that person. Or if you've watched any papal Masses at the Vatican, you know there will be certain dignitaries, leaders of particular countries or whatnot, that are probably placed in certain areas, special areas, when the papal mass starts. So something like that. Or obviously, if it's particular to the liturgical celebration itself, for example, the kids will probably be up in the front if they're taking their first communion, right? A first communion mass. Or at a wedding where we give special honor and place to the bride and groom, where they will have special chairs near the priests, as well as their own kneelers, usually in the middle in front of the altar. Besides these special occasions, we are all just part of the laity in the congregation, which still have a special role to play in the participation of the Mass. So to summarize, paragraphs 26 and 27 state that liturgical events should be public events and not private actions, and that as much as we can, as preferred, liturgical events should be public and open to the public. Mass can be said in private, and even if it was said in private, by its nature, it's still public and communal, especially since we always offer prayers and the sacrifice of the Mass for the Church. Paragraph 28 and 29, participants in the liturgy should only do their duty prescribed in the liturgy, and they should be trained accordingly and have real devotion to do their part well. Paragraphs 30 and 31, we want to encourage the laity to participate through new acclamations, responses, psalms, antiphons, and hymns, and even bodily self-expression. So there's a lot more compared to the old traditional Latin Mass, to the Mass that we have today. There are a lot more responses. There are a lot more antiphons. We sing hymns, a lot more hymns, and even much more ways of standing up, sitting, kneeling, and even like the self-expression of the kiss of peace, where we actually give each other part of the peace. That's new to that's different than from the traditional Latin Mass. And of course, with these responses, these need to be documented in liturgical books. And so what I hint is more than likely this is due to the creation of the general instruction for the Roman Missal, where we have instructions for the clergy and the laity for the Mass. Paragraph 32 is that there should be no special preferences to private individuals, regardless of class. So besides either special dignitaries or special liturgical functions, such as a baptism, a first communion, a wedding, besides those special cases, regardless of a special class, we are all the same in regards to participation in the liturgy. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Tradition with a Catholic T. Next episode, we'll go over paragraphs 33 through 36 of Sacrosanctum Concilium.